Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Dan. This morning I want to discuss another interesting topic that has become a very hot topic in the country, especially for the people who prefer to have a vehicle of his or her own. And with the present policies of the government, there are a lot of concerns how the vehicle market would behave in the years to come. I have with me Mr. Arosha Rodrigo. He's a chartered accountant by profession and he's also the secretary of Vehicle Importers Association of Sri Lanka. Good morning and welcome, Arosha.
Good morning, Dr. Dan.
The topic for today is the vehicle importation market in Sri Lanka and how the budget 2018 affects it. So addressing the first question, Arosha, what's the general feeling with everyone after the new budget comes to vehicles?
Yeah, now actually, to be honest, now this time the budget was actually very kind of special towards our industry because they changed the method of valuation and then the import tax structure changed quite dramatically. To be honest, when I say dramatically, it's for the betterment because as at now, it's actually quite an exciting time for us as well because a few years back it was just the same old boring models coming into the market, whereas now what's happening is you'll see a lot of nice, very kind of different cars. So for us, as in from our side even, it's very exciting times for us, and obviously for the customers you are going to get some very nice products in the future.
Now when you say very exciting time ahead, we know that certain tax increases have affected the especially the fuel using vehicles, but electric vehicles have come down and hybrid stay kind of a middle. So what vehicles have reduced in price?
Now see what the Treasury did this time was in the budget. They have introduced this taxing according to the engine capacity or the cc capacity of each vehicle. So what you'll find is you will get a lot of nice cars that are of low engine capacity, but when I say low engine capacity, that doesn't mean the pulling power is less. It's just that it's just the development of technology. So most vehicles are now built with a very low engine that actually has more efficiency, more torque, as well as less environmental pollution. And also now this time the government is trying to introduce this green policy as well, where they're trying to go electric as well as hybrid. So overall I think it's a good start. There are certain kind of aspects that they need to look into further as well, but overall it's a very good start. And this budget is actually promoting this hybrid and electric vehicles in a major scale.
And when it comes to electric vehicles, are we really ready with infrastructure facilities that should be available to plug in and run?
Well, yes and no actually. Now I think that aspect is still not ready, to be perfectly honest, but we have made a good start, and there are certain private institutions as well who have made a head start as well. But I think from the governmental side there's still a lot of things that needs to be done towards the development, but overall I think this is a good start.
So let's talk about the vehicle engine capacities and price variations. What vehicles have gone up in price, and accordingly with the vehicle engine capacities, what vehicles have come down with the budget?
So I'll start with the good things, which where the vehicles have come down. Now what you'll realize is most vehicles below 1000 cc. So now for instance Suzuki, the Japanese Alto, the Toyota Vitz, or the Suzuki Wagonars, some of these smaller vehicles have come down in price. So which means everyone can now afford a Japanese high quality vehicle with all safety standards, all emission standards, at a lower price, starting from about 2.2, 2.3 million, and especially these are automatic vehicles as well, because what we had in the last few years is a lot of Indian vehicles were coming to the market, and obviously they're manual and it didn't have the required safety standards, whereas now you can actually get all these models from Japan. These are Japanese domestic models as well, which are of higher quality at a very cheap price.
Now, there is a tendency of general users to go for more non-Japanese vehicle nowadays because of the exchange rate variations and the fact that also the importation from Japan costs more for the users. What's the rationale behind this?
Well, the Japanese yen has been fluctuating for a while, but what you'll find is if you look at the vehicle cost now, it's obviously the price of the vehicle as well as the tax. Now the tax is at a standstill, as in the tax is a constant figure now because it's taxed on a unit based tax rate. So whatever the exchange rate is, the tax is going to be the same, whereas only the price of the vehicle will fluctuate. But to be honest, right now the yen is quite reasonable compared to a few months back. So overall you should get a good vehicle at a good price. Going back to earlier question, the vehicles that have gone up, now that is the only complaint we have as the association when it comes to this budget, because this 1500 cc capacity has been neglected, maybe, I don't know, because the tax on those vehicles have gone up now. For instance, vehicles like the Toyota Aqua, the Toyota Axio, these are all hybrid models. The Honda Rizzo, the Honda Fit GP5, the Honda Grace, so those are very kind of and also the Honda Fit Shuttle. All these models have gone up by about 750,000 rupees, so which was unexpected. And also, some of these vehicles are mostly used in the tourism industry, in the transportation industry, and also these are slightly bigger vehicles, these are slightly bigger family vehicles, so that was something unexpected. But overall, I think it's a good budget, but our only complaint is about this segment of vehicles.
So will that increase in certain vehicles really impact your market?
Yes, because now you obviously you have this below 1000 cc capacity vehicles that have gone down in price. So for that category, obviously the Japanese or the English vehicles, you can buy the Toyota Alto, the Suzuki Alto, the Toyota Pixis, the Suzuki Wagoner, the other certain models as well. So from there the jump is quite steep, because now we have these smaller cars that will come into the market at a very good price, but from there it's almost like the jump from there is not going to be easy, because even a Toyota Aqua is going to be quite heavily priced, I think about 5 million now. So that is where the issue is. So for certain industries, like for instance the tourism industry, where the Axio is being used heavily, the Honda Shuttle is being used heavily, that's going to have a bit of a hit.
Now, middle class or middle income earning people may prefer to go for these cheaper vehicles that are in the market, and in that case, how would this price change affect them? Do
you mean to say the smaller vehicles below 1000 cc engine capacity?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a very good thing, because I think they were just stuck with certain Indian makes, certain Malaysian makes, or some of the Chinese manufacturers, whereas now you can actually get a very good quality vehicle from Japan or even European countries like United Kingdom. All these German manufacturers vehicles come through United Kingdom because it's right-hand drive vehicles. So because now what you'll also find in the budget is they have put safety standards now, at least airbags, the seat belts, and the anti-lock braking system, which is ABS. So they have made these things mandatory, which is very commendable. This is actually a special request from our association, because in the last couple of years we have seen a lot of fatal accidents. So as a method of prevention, the government has made them these safety standards mandatory. So what you'll find is you will obviously, with these safety standards coming in, you will obviously have to go for at least a good domestic Japanese vehicle. So I think the starting point is the Japanese Suzuki Alto, not the Indian one, the Japanese Suzuki Alto, and from there you have obviously the Wagonars and some of the Toyota cars which are with small engine capacity. So from about, as I said, from about 2.3 million onwards, you can get an automatic vehicle with airbags, ABS, all these other safety features, as well as Euro 6 standard, because they have also made this Euro 4 standard mandatory in all vehicles, and most of the vehicles that came from, say, as I said, from India, Malaysia, Indonesia, China, didn't even have the Euro 4 standard, whereas from the past 2-3 years, all the Japanese have been adhering to the Euro 6, so we've been few stages ahead overall. So with the making the mandatory of the Euro 4 standard, what you'll find is you will obviously have to go for a good Japanese vehicle, and this budget has made it possible as well with the reduced tax scheme.
Could you further elaborate on this Euro 4 standard?
Yeah, so it's basically an emission standard that's to do with this fuel efficiency and using less fossil fuel. So now Euro 4 is actually, I mean, good starting point. I mean, we prefer to have it at least at Euro 6, but this is a standard that we've never had in our country. So you could have just brought any vehicle that was not up to standard, but I think overall they have looked at the market and they have made it Euro 4, which is also a good starting point. I'm actually hoping by next year they will actually move towards at least Euro 6, because all other international certified vehicles are of Euro 6 standard, but at least Euro 4 is a good way of making stuff.
And now also another concern among the buyers is that some majority of the vehicles that are coming from Japan or through the Japanese auctions are quite they have undergone some damages or collisions or some kind of replacements. So how do you tackle that?
See, now I've seen this. There were certain articles going around social media as well. I did read that myself, and the first impression I got was I don't know who did that, but someone to kind of tarnish our industry, or else the tarnish the reputation of the parallel importers. Because in this country, what you'll find is there are this set of brand new agents who are either trading arms of the manufacturers. And then obviously there's us who are the parallel importers who bring down all kind of models and at a rapid speed. So there's always a lot of competition between the two parties, and there's always a bit of friction between the two parties as well. So I don't know from where that article came out, but what you'll find is when a vehicle is being shipped from Japan, if it's now, you can buy vehicles from as in you can buy vehicles either from the Japanese auctions or else through the Japanese dealers. Now you could have one or two people doing certain kind of malpractices in the industry. I'm not saying no, but overall most vehicles that come are quite new as well as in good condition, as in before you ship, you can obviously look at these auction sheets, and then once you get here, you have all these Japanese inspection certificates, as well as even if you want to come here, you can do a check of your own. And I think the key point here is if the customers can stick to car dealers, local car dealers who have been in the industry for a while and who have been maintaining a certain name and a standard, this problem should be solved. It's just that in the recent years, with the improvement of the technology, what you'll find is through social media and through all these marketing websites, certain individuals have come into the market just advertising, the CIF prices and all of a sudden cheap prices. I mean, when I say cheap, if the market price of a vehicle is 3 million, they would advertise saying we can bring a vehicle for 2 million. So obviously there has to be something wrong with that vehicle. So from the customer's point of view, I understand that it's confusing. I mean, if you look at the weekly publications, or if you go online, you just go crazy, to be perfectly honest. But if you stick to car dealers with a proper name, who actually give a proper warranty, and who has been in the industry for a while, all these problems should be solved. Because now, if you just take our association, we have more than 100 members, the Vehicle Importers Association Sri Lanka. We are the most pioneer association in the country, and all the good names, I didn't want to call names at the moment, but all the good names, all the household names when it comes to cars are with us. So if you actually buy a vehicle from one of us, we, even from our association, we give warranty, and any issues the customers would face, you all can come to us. You can write to me personally. I am the secretary of the association, so we actually make sure that at least our members adhere to a certain standard, and we make sure that the industry name is not tarnished.
There is also a rule in the country that you cannot import a vehicle that is 3 years older, or there is some threshold. Has the budget made any variation to that?
No, it's actually for cars, it's 3 years, and for things like vans and commercial vehicles, it's 5 years. So why they have come up with that rule is to, yet again, to kind of avoid bringing substandard vehicles to the country. So essentially what they're trying to say is, if the vehicle is only 3 years old and it's from a country like Japan or any other European country, the vehicle is still in very good condition, and so that means you can actually get a good vehicle at a cheaper price, because the vehicle over there would have slightly depreciated as well. So in that way, you can actually get hold of a very good vehicle at a cheap price. So answering your question, no, they haven't made any changes. So you can bring a vehicle up to 3 years. So if it's a commercial vehicle, you bring a vehicle up to 5 years. And if it's electric, they have given a tax concession where if it's older than, if it's within 1 year, you get a good tax concession. That, of course, is probably something, personally, I think that needs to be looked into, because electric vehicles are actually quite expensive in Japan or any other country. So if that rule was also being kind of put back to 3 years, that would have been ideal. Because if you just look at the brand new price of an electric car, it's quite an expensive unit. So I don't know if that, because of that reason, if you will get that full electric benefit. But ideally, it should have been at least put for 2 or 3 years, the electric cars as well.
This morning in Coffee with Dan, I have Mr. Arosha Rodrigo. I beg your pardon, Mr. Arosha Rodrigo, Secretary of the Vehicle Importers Association of Sri Lanka. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree, as well as he's a chartered accountant by profession. He's also director of Kusum Car Sale and Colombo Automobile Private Limited. Today we are discussing about the vehicle importation in Sri Lanka and how the budget 2018 affects this market. Now, turning back to our discussion, Arosha, what are the other commendable decisions of this budget when it comes to vehicles?
Yeah, so starting from the main the change that they have done. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's always this friction when it comes to the brand new agents of they call the franchise holders, or else the trading arms of these brand new manufacturers, and then us, the parallel importers. Now, earlier there was a major issue with valuations. We were complaining that the agents are getting their own valuation, and they were complaining that we are getting a lesser price or whatever. But overall, so because of that, what the Honorable Minister has done with his budget is, he has made now that vehicles are being taxed on the engine capacity, or the CC capacity, the cubic centimeter capacity. So which is a very transparent and a simple system. Anyone can just calculate the tax on each vehicle. It's the CC capacity multiplied by the given rate. Now, for instance, if you look at a 1500 cc vehicle, that's 1500 into, I think, 3500, which is 3750. So that is the main one. So now it's a very transparent system which is applicable for everyone, as well as it's kind of a level playing field for all importers now. So that is the most commendable decision that was made this time, which we hope will be upheld in the future as well. And apart from that, now the safety standards coming in, the 3-point seatbelt system, the airbags, anti-lock braking system, which they have made mandatory, so which means we will have less accidents, and we will have less fatal accidents, and we will have good quality vehicles being driven in the market. So the customers are getting good value for money now, and with that, I think what they have introduced is this lower tax scheme for the below 1000cc vehicles, and with that you can actually get a good quality vehicle at a reasonable price. And also, as I mentioned, the emission standards, which they have made mandatory. So these are from the vehicle importer side of things, commendable decisions at the budget.
Now, you were talking about your association and the reputation that it has gained over the years, and selecting a vehicle is not a simple job, I understand, for a customer. So what do people need to be in the lookout for when purchasing a vehicle, or a dealer rather?
Yeah, so see, now this is the problem with the industry, and this has especially become an issue with this widespread social media, and with the improvement of technology, and also this certain publications, weekly publications that people are getting used to. Now, if I were a customer, I would definitely look at the reputation of the dealer, how long they've been in industry. Now, for instance, we've been in the industry for more than 35 years. Actually, our name is older than I am, to be honest. So now, whereas the warranty that each individual will provide, and how the warranty will be honored. See, most people will give you a written warranty, but what you'll have to look at as a customer is, does this person have the technical or as a financial capability and the capacity to honor a warranty? Because you could get a defect in any vehicle, as in it's just a mechanical thing that's been built. So a mechanical fault is just, it's nothing special. I mean, it could happen at any time. So what, as a customer, you shouldn't just look at the piece of paper. You need to think for yourself, is this person capable of providing such a quality service? And if the answer is yes, and if you can just browse through that history of the company, how long they've been there, and you can just talk to, I mean, you can just get references. Even I voluntarily give references every time a customer comes. You can just say, just these are the customers I've bought from us. So why don't you just ask them and see what the service is and what sort of warranty that we have provided. So that is the main thing. And also, as I mentioned, there are all these online scams that are going on. They, if you look at certain listing websites, all of a sudden there's a certain market price. It'll be 25,000 here and there, whereas there'll be one person who'll say, oh, we're going to open you a personal letter of credit and we will get a vehicle from a auction directly, and then because of that you can get a vehicle 500,000-600,000 cheaper. I think that is the scariest thing, and I actually feel sorry for all the customers, because it's confusing at the same time, because with the price of whatever said and done, prices in this country with the tax structure is still expensive compared to other countries. So people are bound to just look at every rupee they spend, but at the same time, as an intelligent person, you need to have a think and see how someone can bring a vehicle the same thing at such a cheaper price. So because you're going to have obviously some sort of defect or some sort of fraud in that system. So I wouldn't go for this opening of personal LCs, because what happens is they will try to import a vehicle under the customer's name, and whatever the vehicle that comes to you will have to be the owner of that, because you can't see the vehicle physically. Whereas if you come to a car dealer, you can just come to that place, have a good look at it, and then buy that car. Whereas where this happens, you'll be given a set of pictures, and then you are forced to have that vehicle even with a defect or whatever. So if I were a customer, I wouldn't do this whole importing system. I would just go to a car dealer and just look at it. If I want, I can take my own mechanic and have a good look at the vehicle, and then if I'm satisfied, I will buy that vehicle. Because what you'll find is, rather than this getting this individual LCs done, most car dealers would get a bulk discount as well, which will actually beat the price once you do a personal import. So that way you are at a better deal, because you're getting a much better product at a better value.
As you very correctly cited, defective or cheaper things may have defects or holes in it. Now, talking about these letters of credit through which we need to pass on the financial aspects against the documentary credits. What is the opening of LC or letter of credit and importing a vehicle procedures, pros and cons?
Yeah, so how this works is, now if you come to a normal car dealer, they will obviously be having their own stock, and they will be having their own stuff, maintaining a warranty and a certain standard. And whereas now that is this image that's been created saying, if you want to get a vehicle cheaper, why don't you come to us? We will open your own letter of credit, and then you can look at the vehicle online and just bring your own vehicle down. Now there are other risks involved as well in this system. One is, once you open the letter of credit, you can't cancel it. So the vehicle that comes through to the port, you are bound to clear it, whether you like it or not. And then obviously you could have a defect or the product that was not as described. That is number one. And also there are certain other risks involved as well, because on the way, it's coming from 1,000 miles away, you could have damages at the port or at the vessel, inside the vessel, and even just bringing it from Hambantota to here, you could have certain, there could be 1,000 things that happen. So the customer who does that face all that risk to get that vehicle down, and once you do a final calculation, I can guarantee that the price will be, if at all, will be the same price that you would have bought the car from dealer, or actually even more. Because as I mentioned earlier, the dealers, we get bulk discounts. We don't buy just one model from each one vehicle from each model. We get about at least 5 to 10 units. So obviously the discount someone would get by buying 10 units is not the same discount that you would get by buying 1 unit. So there itself we have beaten the customer who will be opening a LC. So I mean, if I were a customer, I would just pick a dealer who's been in the industry for a while and who has a reputation, and just go to them and just get a good, reasonable deal.
Now, the government provides subsidies to government's public servants through vehicle permits. What is the price difference between a vehicle imported by a permit holder and a vehicle imported without a permit? I mean, what kind of percentage that this has?
Yeah, I think this time the government has changed the structure of this concessionary permit as well, which in a way is good for the country. But probably, I mean, it's a 50-50 thing. Certain people are not happy with it. Certain people are saying it's a good thing. But I mean, personally, what has happened is the Treasury has limited the number of luxury vehicles that will come into the market through these concessionary permits. That is what has happened, because earlier the permits were given a percentage reduction of the payable duty. Now, for instance, now if you just look at a luxury vehicle, something that's being taxed at say 20 million rupees, earlier what has happened is through the concessionary permit you can get a vehicle that is say 20 million, and a percentage will go off that percentage, as in say 60% waived off or 50% up to about 80% waived off. There were certain concession permits. So in that way, a lot of high-end vehicles came into the market, whereas now they have fixed a value of I think for this commonly called doctor's permit or the government servant's permit, the maximum benefit you can get is 3 million. So essentially the what the government is trying to do is, from the payable duty, only 3 million or less than 3 million is the maximum, is 3 million being deducted. So if you want to get a kind of a normal vehicle, which is around the 1000 to 1500 cc capacity, still you will get a certain benefit. But if you want to bring a luxury vehicle that will actually send more foreign currency out of the country, because our country is in a at a time where we're facing a bit of a foreign currency crisis, the balance of payment issue. It's a certain mechanism that they have introduced to restrict the amount of foreign currency that's going out of the country.
Let me ask you finally, now comparing to the permits of general public servants, like you mentioned, the doctors and other public servants, against politicians or member of parliaments and ministers permits, does that same formula you mentioned equally applies, or is that different?
Now you're putting me in trouble. To be honest, in the Gazette this time, in the budget circular, they have only mentioned about the government servants permit and the retirement permit. So I personally haven't seen a circular relating to the permits of the politicians. I don't know about that. But from what I know, I don't think there is such a restriction on that, because maybe I read the Gazette wrong. But from what I know, I think the restriction is only for the government servants and the retirement permits, basically.
This morning I had Mr. Arosha Rodrigo. He's the Secretary of the Vehicle Importers Association of Sri Lanka. He's a chartered accountant by profession, having a Bachelor of Science degree. He's also a director of Kusum Car Sale and Colombo Automobiles Private Limited. This morning in Coffee with Dan, we were talking about the vehicle importation market in Sri Lanka and the effects of the budget 2018. Thank you very much, Arosha, for being here today in the studios.
Thank you, Dr. Dan. It's a pleasure.
So we'll meet up with another interesting topic next week in Coffee with Dan.